Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is another Bible study video and I am going to start with the devotional book for day 22. So I've got day 22 here and I am just going to read the little message in here that it gives. For day 22, it says, never assume that someone is unable to be transformed by God's grace. Based upon the remarkably cruel way they treated Joseph, it would be easy to think that his brothers were past saving, and yet in Judah, we see a dim and imperfect but unmistakable picture of Christ. He was willing to sacrifice his own life for the sake of his younger brother. God can work in any life. I like that. God can work in any life. And for me personally, I'm glad to know that because as I've said in other videos, I have recovered from terminal illness, and that's what makes me believe that there is a God. But since I recovered and moved on in the past 38 years, I know I have not been the perfect person, and so it's refreshing to know that when it says God can work in any life, it's refreshing for me personally to know that he can still work for me. And I do have a quick story to tell you guys a little later on here that another reason why I believe he's watching over me right now. Anyway, so reading that thing out of this devotional book, going back to where it talks about Joseph, I went on Google and I looked up the moral lesson of Genesis 44. Because again, God can work in any life, stemming from that. So on my phone says, what is the moral lesson of Genesis 44? I looked it up. It says Judah's willingness to acknowledge his iniquity. I think I'm saying that right. See Genesis 44:16. And to be enslaved in place of his younger brother is evidence that his heart was changing. While we may not know how completely repentant Judah and his brothers were, from Judah's example, we can learn a valuable truth about repenting of our own sins. So that was refreshing for me. And yeah, I think it all goes together. I really don't know what too much to say about that, but to me, in my own head, it all matches up. I read Genesis 45 a couple times actually, and Joseph makes himself known is the title in my Bible anyway for Genesis 45. It says Joseph makes himself known. And I read this, and then I went to Google and I was trying to find the meaning and, the lessons and the moral of the story and all that kind of stuff. And it says in Genesis 45, I got my notebook here, God reveals 7 lessons on true spirit-led forgiveness. And I thought there was lessons in there. So I went back and I read it again. And the lessons that I found on Google that Genesis 45 is talking about, I wasn't able to take parts of this that I was reading to go, okay, well, there's that lesson, and then continue reading, and then there's lesson number 2. So, this was a few days ago when I read it, and it was in the morning, and I sit here and kind of read a little bit of it before I go to work with my cup of tea and stuff like that. But I wasn't able to really find these lessons. But today, before I started making this video, I read 45 again and read these lessons again, and I'm not seeing the lessons. So I don't know, but I'm going to read the lessons to you because maybe you guys can see from reading Genesis 45, maybe there's however you're reading it or whatever, maybe there's a way that you can take this and say, oh yeah, I can relate to this is what it means right here. So I'm going to read these lessons to you guys and see if you can find them in Genesis 45 because I can't, and I've read it like 3 times. Anyway, so here it is. So the first one, for again, it says God reveals 7 lessons on true spirit led forgiveness. So lesson number 1, forgiveness is a blessing that frees you from pain and anger, allowing God to forgive your sins against him and others. That makes sense to me, but I'm not seeing it in here. I don't know. It's probably just me trying to take the message here that's in here. It's not written word for word like this, so that's probably why I'm overlooking it. But I'm gonna read it again after this video. I read it right before this video, and I'm gonna try to find the answers in here. I'm just on a mission to find the answers. So lesson number 2 is God's forgiveness can free a person who committed the sin from guilt and self-hatred. Again, that makes sense, but I'm not finding it in here. Lesson 3, it's easier to forgive others when you accept that God is in control of your life, causing all things to work together for his greater good. Lesson 4, true spirit-led forgiveness allows for true peace and reconciliation. Number 5, true spirit-led forgiveness allows God to pour out his blessings on you and others. And number 6, God warns Satan will frequently try to diminish the freedom that Jesus gives by reassigning blame. If you or someone else has been forgiven, you must be vigilant not to allow Satan to use all forgiven debts against yourself or others. And lesson number 7, God reveals that the forgiveness that Jesus offers is only possible when you believe in him in faith. All of this makes sense to me, but I'm having problems taking this and matching it up here by reading the story and saying I can see where they're getting this. And then in my notes here, I wrote forgiveness is a central component in your transformation through Christ. So that's pretty much all of my notes that I have. Now for my story, that when it goes back to beginning when I said I had a story talking about how God can be in any life at any time, and whether you notice him or not, he's there. And this could just be all in my mind. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's because I'm starting to read the Bible now, and I'm starting to see a little bit of things, not everything, but I'm starting to see some things, and I'm starting to realize that, hey, maybe he was there, maybe he is there for me. But I want to tell you guys, and I'm going to try to make this story brief, but there was an issue a couple days ago when I was home alone. My husband had already gone to work, and it was still dark outside, and I was home alone getting ready for work myself. And we have cameras around our house and stuff like that, because my neighborhood that I live in used to be a decent neighborhood, but crime is starting to leak in our way, and I think that's everywhere. Everybody's decent area that you live in used to be a good area, and now it's, maybe it's not that bad. A lot of other places are a lot worse, but you get my drift. Anyway, a few minutes before I leave for work, one last time for the day, I take Stitch out in my backyard for him to do his little potty thing. And since it's dark outside, I'm out there with a flashlight, letting him do his business. And the flashlight is basically because you just look basically to see where I am, see what's out there. It's dark outside. And we also have coyote in our area that sometimes we see a coyote. And I want to make sure I'm not out there with him. There's a coyote. Well, So I'm out there with the flashlight. He's doing his business, and I came in the house, and it was time for me to leave for work. So I locked up, set the house alarm, got in my car, and went off to work. Well, later on that day, my husband had sent me a text message telling me that our neighbor next door had told him that he confronted a man that was in our backyard around the time that I was in the backyard with my dog, and he shooed the guy off. Nobody was out there. I did not see anyone. I had the flashlight, and I've got the flashlight doing this back and forth, and and then I'm looking down at Stitch every once in a while to make sure he's doing his business. I didn't see anything, and I'm kind of starting to get nervous just talking about it because it's creepy. Um, I didn't see anyone, and but so when I came home from work, my husband already had our cameras up, and he was looking at the cameras, and sure enough, there was a man in my backyard. He had pulled one of my gate doors because they're locked. He pulled one of my gate doors and just totally bent the crap out of it. I didn't notice it because it's dark, and I'm out there watching my dog and paying attention to, you got to go do your thing. I have to go to work. It's just really creepy. But he was back in my backyard, and he came all the way up to my house towards the windows, just on the other side of the wall where I was. And according to the times on our camera, he was in the backyard right before I took my dog out. But I didn't see him out there. Um, so I think he was maybe hiding behind something, maybe a garden shed or something, waiting for me to come back in, because I turned the porch light on and then my flashlight. But it was just really creepy to know that when I went to work and I thought everything was fine, my house is locked up, the alarm set, everything's fine. And I was out in my backyard, and this guy was out there, and I had no idea. So I'm a little panicked. I'm a little freaked. But um, I think, like I said, maybe it's all in my head. Maybe it's coincident. I don't know. But I am starting to think that God had something to do with the fact that I did not come, I didn't cross paths with this guy. He was in my yard hiding, waiting for me to come back in my house. I don't know. I didn't see the neighbor shoo him away. And I was in my driveway sitting in my car, seeing the front of my neighbor's house. And I didn't see anybody. I didn't see nothing. So somebody was watching out for me. So that's my story of what happened to me the other day, and I'm a little jittery and shaky about it. And now I just kind of feel like I have an alarm system, I have locked fences, and I'm still not safe in my own backyard. So my message to you guys is that I think God was watching over me and my little doggy, and always keep a lookout. You never know who's around. You never know what kind of crime's around. But so that's my story. Okay, calm down. I'm going to end this video with Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for those you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. My last video, I mentioned something about making a junk journal. I was all excited about it, which I still am. I've been watching junk journal videos on YouTube just to, see all the different ways that people can do it. And I am very determined. I even got my box here to get started. If you've watched any videos on how to make them, they use food boxes and all kinds of things, but I got my box here that I'm going to start making it. But this Psalm 23 is going to be in my junk journal. And once I get my junk journal put together and a few pages made in it, then I do plan on showing you guys on my videos how my video, how it, or excuse me, my journal, how it turned out, and what I'm doing with it. but I like Psalm 23. And I know I've heard bits and pieces of this before. And now that I've read the whole thing, I really like it. And um, I think about the other morning when I read this. And I really do believe that he's out there watching over me, protecting me, even though I've been oblivious. And I'm reading this now, and I am really determined to finish reading this whole Bible in a year. I have not skipped one day yet. So that's all I have for my video today. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, and I will see you back here next time on Survive with What You Know. Have a great day. Bye.